Yo guys, welcome back to a brand new video. Today we are going to be testing out Ares against Hulk, Kingpin and Gladiator in an alliance battle. These are the restrictions in which they're going to go head to head, and we're going to be starting off with Hulk in alliance battle extreme. This is what my Hulk's build looks like. He is a part of the Avengers team up collection, and my team up collection is upgraded to the point where he gets additional 3% pierce. But yeah, this is what the rest of the build looks like. I have a 5-star artifact on him, and we're using him with a 200 enraged proc mighty CTP. So yeah, we're going to be starting off with Alliance Battle Extreme. The restriction that we are doing is the Combat Villain restriction. Now, there are alternative options, but Hulk, from my testing, has been performing the best for me in Alliance Battle Extreme specifically. You do need a decent amount of HP on your cards, and then you also need Abomination with the seasonal uniform. I don't really use him here because I don't get too much value from him, as I can't really use him in Alliance Battle Legends. So yeah, I used a CTP changer to put CTPs on Hulk and Abomination to see how he performs here for our testing. So the rotation that I would recommend using with Hulk is 6 delay cancel, 2 cancel, 4 cancel, 3 cancel, 1 cancel, 5. So Hulk is very easy to play, and on top of that, he also has all the cancels for Alliance Battle Extreme, making him very versatile for all the seasons. But yeah, now we are near the end of his run here, and we crossed 17 million with ease. I think if I played it a little bit better, I would have probably gotten 18 million. But yeah, we end the run with almost 17.5 million on the board. Now we're going to be moving on to Kingpin. I'm going to be using him in the Alliance Battle Legends Combat Villain restriction. This is what his build looks like. I have a 4-star artifact on him, and on top of that, I'm using the same exact rate CTP that I used on my Hulk. I tested Hulk and Kingpin before I recorded my testing here, and Kingpin clearly outscored Hulk. So I'm going to be using Kingpin here to set the baseline for this restriction in Alliance Battle Legends. Kingpin is slightly more complicated to play than Hulk. So the rotation that I used was 3 delay cancel, 6 cancel, 4 cancel, 5. It gives a lot of hits in every rotation. And on top of that, he also has a V-pad on his second skill, which makes it easier for me to pick up the Odin's Mites. Additionally, he has 2 out of 3 cancels for Alliance Battle Legends. He's only missing Shock in his kit. So yeah, you have to use a striker who has the Shock cancel. Even without being a part of a team up collection, he performs really well in Alliance Battle Legends. Now the only issue that I faced was that he gets guard broken when he gets hit. As you can see here, he gets hit and he just sits there. So yeah, that's an issue when you're playing him. You have to be very cautious. But still, we're going with this run, and we have the scores on the board, 13.5 million with Kingpin in Alliance Battle Legends. Not the best run, but we're going to take it for now. Moving on, we're going on to Gladiator in Alliance Battle Legends, Combat Alien Restriction. This restriction doesn't have that many options to pick from. Your best option is Gladiator. Alternatively, you could have used Groot prior to Ares coming out, but Groot wasn't that good. Meaning you would need to spend a lot of resources to get your hands on Gladiator for a decent enough score. And on top of that, Gladiator is extremely difficult to play. I've been practicing him since I tier 4'd him, and I still can't get a hang of him. The rotation that I use is 1 cancel, 5 quick cancel, 3 cancel, 4. Let 4 play out and then do 2 delay cancel 6 whenever you have your tier 3 skill available, and then repeat that rotation. He is missing Shock in his kit, but he does have the other 2 cancels. So yeah, we ended up testing him in the Shock season, so it did affect his score overall. I've seen better players score extremely high with Gladiator, but every time I took a look at their builds, it was a very, very good build. They had a brilliant rage and maxed out Urus, so that might also be a key reason why my Gladiator wasn't scoring as much. But yeah, now we're near the end of this run. It seems like we're going to be crossing the 10 million mark, which is an average score for my Gladiator. Maybe with a better build, and if I did improve how I played him, I could have gotten like a 12 million. But yeah, that's the score for Gladiator. Now that we've taken a look at all the scores for the 3 characters, we can finally move on to Ares' showcase. This is what his build looks like. He does not have any team up collection that he's a part of, and he's also missing his artifact, and I'm using a mighty rage on him with the 200 enraged proc, same as the other characters. So we're starting off with the combat villain restriction in Alliance Battle Extreme, where we tested out Hulk previously. The only difference in this run is that instead of Abomination, we're using Taskmaster, because Abomination's boosts only apply to Gamma Radiation characters, and Ares is not a Gamma Radiation character. I did make sure to swap out the inside eye hat on Abomination to put it on Taskmaster, so it keeps at least that aspect consistent. Ares, the rotation I used was 6 cancel, 5 cancel, 3 quick cancel into 4. You have to wait for the X to appear before canceling 3. But yeah, that's the rotation. He's comparatively easier to play than, I'd say, Kingpin, but like slightly more difficult to play than Hulk if you take everything into consideration. But yeah, he is a transcendent potential character, which puts him at a slight disadvantage, and not to mention he's not a part of a team up collection. So Hulk does have an upper hand because he can get 5% more peers than Ares if you have your team up collection maxed out. And as you can see, we ended the run slightly short of 17 million, showing Hulk does outperform Ares in Alliance Battle Extreme. Next up, we have the Alliance Battle Legends run for the combat villain restriction. He's competing with Kingpin here, and yeah, we're using the same exact rotation as before. And exactly like Kingpin, he's also missing Shock in his kit, but he has the other 2 cancels. So we had to use Miles as a tier 4 striker to compensate for the missing Shock in his kit. Now, comparing Ares to Kingpin and Hulk, he does have a significantly weaker build. One reason being he doesn't have his artifact, and the other reason being, especially with Hulk, is that he's not a part of a team up collection. So we need to take that into consideration before we judge his scores. But yeah, let's see how he performs here. So we're near the end of his run, and it seems like we're scoring significantly lower than Kingpin. Even though Kingpin's run was a bit botched at the end, Ares still struggles to reach that score. We end up scoring slightly above 11 million. Slightly disappointing, but what can you do? I need to polish his build. But yeah, with that being said, we can finally move on to the Alliance Battle Legends run for the Combat Alien restriction. The only difference is that we're going to be using different supports for this run. I'm using Valkyrie and Sif, but you can use any supports you have. But yeah, Valkyrie is a much better support than both Taskmaster and Red Hulk, and Sin is comparatively better than Red Hulk. So yeah, overall we should be scoring more in this run. I did change the tier 4 striker to Thor because for the Gladiator run I was using Thor. So yeah, to keep things as consistent as possible, we're using Thor as our striker as well. Now, comparing Gladiator's build to Ares' build, I'd say it's more similar than it was when we compared Ares and Hulk or Kingpin's build, because both of them did have a slight advantage. I think for this run at least, Gladiator and Ares should be on equal footing in terms of their build. So we're near the end of this run, and it seems like we crossed 11 million with ease, blowing Gladiator's score out of the water. We end off with 11.59 million on the board. That's actually pretty impressive given he is a native tier 1 character compared to Gladiator, who is a native tier 2 character. But yeah, that ends our testing. Let's take a look at the comparisons between the scores. So we started off with Alliance Battle Extreme Combat Villain. There, Ares scored slightly lower, which is equivalent to 3%. Next up, we had Combat Villain in Alliance Battle Legends up against Kingpin. Kingpin ended up outscoring Ares by over 2 million, which is equivalent to almost 17%. Then we matched up Gladiator with Ares in Combat Alien Restriction for Alliance Battle Legends. There, Ares ended up outperforming Gladiator by 1.31 million score, and that is equivalent to almost 13%. So yeah, that ends our comparison. I think Ares is a very good investment for overall value, but I still don't think he is the best for the absolute top meta in each of these restrictions. So if you think from that perspective, you can build one character for these 4 restrictions instead of building 4 different characters for each of these restrictions. This makes Ares a very good value character. I'm thinking of investing more of my resources in upgrading his build so he can score more competitive scores. And I keep mentioning 4 restrictions. The other restriction that he qualifies for is the villain alien restriction. I initially planned on making a video with Loki, Hades, and Farmer Thanos, and now that I have Ares as well, I plan on including Ares in that video as well. So yeah, stay tuned for that comparison video that I plan on making soon. But that is it from me, guys. Let me know your thoughts down below regarding Ares. And yeah, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.